3:47 p.m., corner of Fletcher and Main, sun hitting hard, shadows stretching long, a quiet street, until it wasn't. Officer Brent Holloway rolled up in his cruiser like he was pulling into a war zone. Window down, shades on. The kind of cop who thinks respect comes from intimidation, and he found exactly the man he was looking to challenge. A black man in desert boots, black athletic gear, hands tucked behind his back, eyes scanning the horizon like he'd been here before. That man was Lieutenant Commander Jordan Price, decorated Navy SEAL, 4 tours, 1 Bronze Star, and a silence that spoke louder than most men's words. He was waiting for an Uber after visiting a local veteran center, sipping from a paper cup and minding his peace. Holloway didn't like the look of him. Didn't like the calm, didn't like the upright posture that screamed discipline, so he stepped out with a swagger and a stare. "You fit the description," Holloway barked. No greeting, no explanation. Jordan didn't move. Of what? His voice was steady, deep, not defensive, disciplined. Of someone who doesn't belong here. And with that, Holloway closed the distance. Slammed Jordan against the brick wall with a violence that was personal. "Let's see what you're hiding, hero," he sneered, already reaching for cuffs. Jordan didn't resist. But in his left wrist was a military-grade smartband, silent alarm, GPS ping, biometric distress signal. Exactly 7 seconds later, it activated. Across the street, a teenage girl dropped her boba tea and raised her phone. "I'm recording," she shouted. Another voice joined, then another, and another. The street got quiet, not silent, just tense. Like the moment before a storm hits. Jordan's eyes didn't flinch. "You picked the wrong soldier today." The first video hit TikTok before Holloway even reached for his radio. Teenagers, mothers. A delivery driver, 2 baristas on break, 20 phones in the air now, lenses locked on a scene that no longer belonged to the officer, or even the man he pinned. It belonged to the internet. "Yo, he didn't even resist," someone yelled. "He's bleeding, did y'all see that?" Lieutenant Commander Jordan Price, body trained for conflict, mind disciplined for war, wasn't resisting. But Holloway saw none of that. All he saw was a challenge to his control. He slammed Jordan harder, splitting the corner of his lip. "I gave you a lawful order," Holloway hissed. Jordan turned his head, blood trailing down his chin, and said one word. "Name, what?" "I'm asking your name and badge number, officer. You've just initiated unlawful force on a federal asset." The words didn't land, not right away. But a woman in the crowd caught it. Wait, did he say federal? Now more people were filming. A man in business slacks started narrating for his live. "I think this guy's military. And the cop just assaulted him." Across town, the GPS ping hit Naval Command. SEAL Protocol 19A, emergency detainment of active duty personnel. A red banner flashed across Admiral Regina Knox's screen. "Alert, SEAL Commander Jordan Price. Distress signal confirmed. Location, civilian interaction. Authority response inbound." Meanwhile, Holloway tightened the cuffs. "You think your fancy wristwatch is gonna save you?" Jordan's eyes locked with his. Calm, measured. "No. But it just gave your department 15 minutes to figure out how to explain this to the Pentagon." Holloway laughed. "You think I'm scared of some desk jockeys?" Then the crowd gasped. 2 SUVs, no lights, no sirens, matte black, turned the corner fast. Time had just run out. The tires didn't screech, they whispered. That kind of silence is louder than any siren. 2 matte black SUVs coasted to a perfect halt at opposite ends of the block. Their doors didn't fly open, they clicked, calculated and slow. 4 Navy military police stepped out, 2 from each vehicle, boots landing with synchronized precision. Black uniforms, no name tags, no smiles, helmets with attached comms. Shoulder patches stitched with one word, WARCOM. Holloway turned halfway, smirking. "You boys lost or something?" The lead MP stepped forward, Captain Elena Miles. Decorated, unshakable. Her voice could slice marble. "Step away from Lieutenant Commander Price. Now." That wiped the smirk clean. "I don't answer to you," Holloway snapped. She held up a compact tablet and tapped it once. On screen, live GPS ping. SEAL identifier, Asset 2 Tanks 301, Lieutenant CMDR Jordan Price, Tier 1 clearance active duty. Then she turned the tablet toward the crowd. Cameras caught everything. "Lieutenant Commander Price is a federally protected combat operator currently serving under naval special warfare. His unlawful detainment has triggered federal jurisdiction." Someone in the crowd gasped. "He's a SEAL?" A delivery guy muttered. "This cop's done." Jordan, still in cuffs, finally exhaled. "I warned you, You think I care what badges you flash? Holloway shouted, grabbing Jordan by the collar. That's when Captain Miles moved, 3 strides, hand on her firearm, not drawn, just present. Officer Brent Holloway, you are now interfering with a federal response. Step back, or be physically removed under Article 14. For a beat, Holloway didn't move. Then the air shifted. A barista whispered, "Bro, he's gonna get arrested." Cameras rolled. Hashtags were already forming. And then, just as slow as those SUVs had pulled in, Captain Miles said, "Activate bodycam extraction." 2 MPs moved in. The crowd held its breath. An MP approached Holloway's chest cam with a small wireless receiver, clicked it on, and began a live extraction. Instantly, the nearby Navy SUV's side panel lit up with a 60-inch projection. Everybody saw it, from the people filming on phones to the man leaning from the bakery window across the street. The footage began. There it was, plain as daylight, Holloway's aggression, his words, his shove. The bodycam didn't lie, and the Navy's software had enhanced it. Time-stamped, geotagged, even heart rate and stress indicators were overlaid. His pulse had skyrocketed the moment he saw Jordan's face. Then came the real punch, the audio. "You people always got something slick to say," Holloway's voice rang out, venomous, undeniable. A gasp spread through the crowd like a wave. Jordan's voice, by contrast, was low and controlled. "I'm giving you a chance to de-escalate. I'm active duty." The projection froze as a second screen, this time a bystander's phone footage, synced in perfect time. It showed Jordan not resisting, hands visible, calm. Now the crowd saw it from both angles. It wasn't he said, she said. It was irrefutable. A kid, maybe 16, whispered, "Yo. They did him dirty." And he was chill the whole time. Captain Miles didn't raise her voice, but it cut through the murmurs. Lieutenant Commander Price was profiled, assaulted, and unlawfully detained in violation of multiple federal statutes. She turned to Holloway. "Officer Brent Holloway, by order of the Department of Defense and under Section 242 of Title 18 U.S. Code, you are hereby relieved of duty and placed under arrest." The crowd exploded. Not in chaos, but in disbelief. Jordan turned his head. His lip was bleeding, but his eyes were calm. "You sure you're ready for the rest of the tape?" he asked. And somewhere in that moment, the world started paying attention. It only took 43 minutes. 43 minutes after the Navy projection hit that SUV panel, the footage was everywhere. Uploaded, mirrored, dissected. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, even LinkedIn, everyone had a take. A clip from a teenage girl's phone, captioned, "He said he was Navy, they didn't care." Hit 5 million views in under an hour. News stations scrambled for statements. Civil rights attorneys began tweeting threads of legal breakdowns. A retired general commented, "If this is how we treat decorated SEALs on our own soil, who's next?" At the station, Holloway sat cuffed, pale, sweating under the flickering ceiling lights. His union rep hadn't even arrived yet, and already the governor's office was on the line. Meanwhile, Jordan Price sat on a stool in a downtown trauma clinic, getting his lips stitched with a calmness that unnerved even the nurse. A Navy rep stood at his side, hand on his shoulder, not to protect him, to back him up. Outside, protesters had already started gathering. People held signs that read, "Not all heroes wear blue and respect is earned, not forced." A muralist across the street began sketching Jordan's face on a wall with the words, "Strength under fire." In an interview with a local journalist, Jordan said just one thing, "Greater than I didn't ask to be a hero. I asked to be treated like a man." Those 14 words turned into a national chant. By nightfall, major media outlets had picked it up. SEAL versus badge. The slam heard around the nation. Hero in uniform versus uniformed hate. Even world leaders were taking note. A UN spokesperson called it an alarming reflection of systemic issues within American policing. But for Jordan Price, none of that mattered. He wasn't chasing fame, he was chasing something rarer, dignity. At 7:12 p.m., the police chief issued a citywide stand-to-down order for all patrols in the downtown district. Why? Because the protest was no longer just a protest. It had become a movement, controlled, organized, furious but focused. 1,000 people gathered in silence outside the 9th precinct. Not one chant, not one broken window, just stillness. A coordinated act of defiance. And right in the center, standing tall in his Navy dress uniform, was Senior Chief Jordan Price. Body cameras across the department were now permanently switched on, streamed directly to an internal server. The DA had opened a formal investigation. Holloway was suspended indefinitely without pay. But for most people watching, online and in the crowd, that wasn't enough. They wanted transformation, not just accountability. Inside a private meeting room, the mayor, sweating under the pressure of national media, looked to Chief Rosario. "Is he legit, this Price guy?" Rosario nodded. "Legit enough to train every man on our force if we want to clean house." The mayor blinked. "Then get him in here, tonight." Meanwhile, Holloway sat alone in an interrogation room, hands cuffed, phone confiscated. The footage looped in front of him on a monitor, his words, his violence, his downfall, over and over. No escape. Officer Nadia Chen, Internal Affairs, stepped in. Clipboard, cold eyes. "You understand what this is, Holloway?" He didn't answer. She leaned in. "You picked the wrong man on the wrong day in the wrong city." Back outside, Jordan stood facing the building that once symbolized safety, but now felt like a fortress of fear. A boy no older than 12 walked up to him, handed him a note. It said, "I want to be strong like you, but not angry, just strong." Jordan folded the note. "Then you're already ahead of me, kid." 3 days later, the city convened an emergency hearing. It wasn't just to review Officer Holloway's conduct, it was to face the larger truth everyone had ignored for too long. A high school auditorium was turned into a civic forum. Folding chairs packed with citizens, activists, veterans, police families. Even off-duty officers sat silently, waiting to hear the one voice that had made the entire nation pause. Jordan Price walked in wearing full navy dress blues. Not for show, for history. No prepared speech, no teleprompter. Just him, the microphone, and a silence you could carve through. "I didn't come here to bury anyone," he began. "But I also didn't come to let silence bury us." The room leaned in. "I've served overseas, watched friends die beside me, kicked in doors in cities whose names you can't pronounce, and never, not once, did I raise my weapon before confirming the threat. So tell me, why is that too much to ask of our own police?" Murmurs. Cameras clicked. Even the mayor, sitting in the front row, looked stunned. "I don't hate cops," Jordan continued. "I hate cowardice. I hate unchecked power. And I hate that my skin still turns a routine stop into a battlefield." He pointed toward the gallery. "I didn't bleed for this flag so that it could be used to choke people like me." The moderator tried to shift to the next speaker, but the crowd erupted in applause. Long, rising, thunderous. The kind of ovation that drowns agendas. Meanwhile, Holloway, watching from a closed-circuit feed in city detention, sank deeper into his chair. He wasn't just watching a hearing, he was watching history leave him behind. Later that night, the clip of Jordan's speech hit 10 million views. By morning, Congress had already begun writing itself, on phones, on news tickers, in war rooms of policy advisors scrambling to respond. Jordan Price's speech wasn't just trending anymore. It was sparking legislation. In D.C., a congresswoman from Maryland took the House floor holding a printed screenshot of the incident. "This," she said, "is not just a rogue cop story. This is the symptom of systemic rot. But this," she pointed to a clip of Jordan's calm restraint, "this is what strength looks like. And I'm introducing the Price Protocol Bill today. Nationwide DE to escalation training. Body cam reform. Psychological vetting every 2 years." In under 48 hours, 5 more representatives co-sponsored it. But back in the city, real lives were still changing. Holloway had officially been charged. Aggravated assault under color of law, civil rights violations, and falsifying a police report. His trial date was fast-tracked under national pressure. Officer Davis, one of Holloway's colleagues, resigned publicly, releasing a video statement. "I watched, I froze. That's on me, but I won't wear this badge unless it means something again." The department's chief, Rosario, met with Jordan behind closed doors. Word was she offered him a consulting role, training officers in high-stakes restraint and racial bias deprogramming. He didn't say yes, not yet. Meanwhile, Jordan visited a middle school in the very district where the incident happened. He wasn't announced, just walked in, sat with kids, answered questions. A young black girl asked, "Do you ever get scared?" He smiled. "Every day. Bravery isn't not being scared, it's choosing how to respond anyway." The clip of that exchange went viral too. Outside the school, graffiti artists painted a mural of Jordan with the words, "Strength is calm. Justice is loud." The courthouse overflowed. Press vans lined the block. Reporters from CNN to Al Jazeera huddled shoulder to shoulder, fighting for a clear shot of the defendant and the man he'd once slammed into concrete. Jordan arrived early, not flanked by handlers or attorneys, alone, dressed in the same calm dignity he carried the day it all began. Inside, Officer Holloway looked smaller than anyone remembered. No uniform, just a gray suit that sagged on his shoulders. The swagger was gone. In its place, a man out of time, out of place. The prosecution opened strong. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not about a mistake. This is about a man entrusted with power, who used it not to protect, but to humiliate, to harm, to assert dominance over someone he assumed would stay silent. The courtroom was quiet, heavy. Jordan watched, unreadable. Then came the video, played again. From 4 angles, the slam, the taunt, the blood, the calm response. The Navy SEAL badge clattering to the sidewalk. Audible gasps filled the room. Holloway's face flushed with shame. Jordan took the stand. "Did you resist, Mr. Price?" the prosecutor asked. "No," he said. I responded. "What were you thinking?" Jordan paused. "That he didn't see me, just my skin, my size, my silence." The defense tried. Claimed stress, miscommunication, a volatile situation. But the footage spoke louder. When the jury returned, it took 90 minutes. Guilty on all counts. Holloway collapsed into his seat, shaking his head. Jordan didn't cheer. He didn't flinch. He simply nodded. Not out of satisfaction, but acknowledgement. Not victory, but gravity. Outside, the crowd waited. "Was justice served?" a reporter asked. Jordan turned. "Justice isn't a verdict, it's a mirror. The question is, what are we going to do now that we've seen our reflection?" 3 weeks later, a bronze plaque went up on the wall where it all started. It read, "Jordan Price, decorated Navy SEAL, defender of country and dignity. Here, he reminded a city what real strength looks like." The story didn't fade. It only grew. A senator cited the incident during a speech pushing for federal reform in police training. Schools replayed the footage in ethics classes. Police academies rewrote protocol modules. One academy named their new de-escalation program the Price Standard. But it wasn't just policy that shifted. In a quiet gym on the edge of town, Jordan stood in front of 30 teens, mostly black, mostly wary of uniforms. He spoke softly. "You don't always get to choose how they see you, but you always choose how you respond." He wasn't teaching how to fight, he was teaching how to endure, how to stay rooted, how to command a room with dignity, not fear. One kid asked, "What gave you the strength not to hit back?" Jordan smiled. "Knowing who I am, that's power they can't take." Across the country, reactions poured in. Veterans wrote letters. Activists shared the footage in town halls. One viral TikTok ended with the caption, "He didn't swing back, he stood tall." That's warrior energy. Officer Holloway was sentenced to 3 years. He appealed. Denied. But his name would forever be tied to the moment that sparked a movement. At sunset, Jordan stood at the pier again. Same horizon, same stillness. A journalist approached. "What would you say to Holloway if you saw him again?" Jordan turned to the sea. "That I hope he finally sees me." The screen fades to black. Words scroll across: respect, dignity, accountability. These aren't just words, they're the new rules, and just like that, a moment became a message. A message that refuses to be forgotten.